Welcome to the Fold Mysteries, where we seek to discover everything that lies between the folds of reality. This week is going to be a little different yet again. So as you can see, we have MIke Hexum, aka Pops, here with us again this week for a part 2 of some of his exciting thrills and adventures. And we're looking forward to having even more members of MNBRT come in and take over the show today. So I'm pretty excited about that. So they're going to be jumping on, taking turns whenever they're able to come in and tell their stories and their experiences and their part with MNBRT. And if you can see today, I'm wearing my MNBRT Michigan Bigfoot Conference shirt. So that's pretty cool. I told Abe, I said, I'm wearing my shirt next week. So he said he was going to wear his too. So I'll call him out if he's not when he's on here. Mike, so last week we had some really cool things that we didn't even get to touch on that you had experienced, whether it be from your youth. You had some teepee structures, also your dad having known about Bigfoot long before Bigfoot was really a well-known name or household cryptid. So I was wondering if maybe you could go into some more of your stories and experiences that we didn't get to touch on last week.
Well, thanks for having me on again. I want to say that.
Yeah. Yes, it was such a pleasure last week. We're so happy to have you again.
Yeah, like I say, I could talk all night on stories and that. I actually did a show with a guy out of St. Cloud, and he had a class that he was teaching once a month, and he would have me on the classroom and online and that, and people would ask questions. I'm a kind of a question and answer guy. Somebody will ask me a question, I'll tell them, what I think or what's going on. I'm very comfortable doing that. But yeah, one of the stories I didn't finish was the teepee structures. So this area that we started hunting in, it was like a year later, I believe.
I hate to interrupt you, but I'm actually going to call out Mr. Elusive1, Abe. He has just joined us. So it looks like he might be running behind him where he's going. So welcome back, Abe Elusive1 from MNBRT.
Sorry for my tardiness in the middle of something, but yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us back.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you want to take a moment and get where you need to go and then jump back on? We'll invite you back in again.
I could do that. It's going to take me probably about another 10 or 15 minutes, or I could stay alive like this right now, unless you're having some kind of audio trouble.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a guy.
Hey, guys need the other one, okay?
I am good to drive and do this. Thanks for your checking on me.
Almost.
Right. Go ahead, Mike.
So yeah, so this area that we were in there hunting, this was back in the 70s. I was making a drive to my dad's deer stand. So I'm walking through the woods trying to push deer to him. And I walked into a swamp area, all tamarack swamps. And I got just on the edge of this area, found like 6 teepees. And I said, wow, this is really weird. They were actually like 5 or 6 poles, perfectly constructed. Oh, wow. And I stood there and looked at them. So I walked through that, and I walked up to where my dad was sitting, and I told him what I found. And he goes, wow, that's weird, because that area, prior to that, was a game reserve. And like I say, my uncle was a state trapper for Itasca County, and he found out that this area was open. So basically, we were the only ones in that area. My dad and his guys, there was about 4 or 5 of us, I believe, that were hunting in this area, and that's 55 square miles. And what made the poles sticking up, it was just really weird. And I've been in that area, last year. I actually walked that same area that swamp was in that, and there's absolutely no sign of anything there anymore. From what I've seen back in the 70s. So really weird.
And with that being said, in an active area, we see them go up and we see them come down as far as formations go. But the TP formation itself is one of the more elaborate formations where you can actually say to yourself, something with hands had to make that.
Definitely, yeah. It wasn't made by animals, that's for sure. I mean, there were two perfectly.
I haven't seen a TP formation made by a beaver, or or an opossum, but
yeah.
The other thing is that we're finding is responsible for this, but we're saying we've had Bigfoot activity in the areas where we're finding these formations.
Yes. Yeah, because you can't really say what it is, but I mean, the fact that it's a Bigfoot active area to top it off with the TP structures is super compelling.
Oh,
over the years, I've looked at a lot of. I've looked at a lot of pictures people have sent me of possible teepees. It's hard to tell from a picture, but I've actually gone back in the areas with people and looked at what they found. And 9 times out of 10, I can write it off as wind damage or storm damage that causes formations to look the way they do.
Yeah.
It's definitely not made by.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and I think it's important to kind of pick apart the structures when you find one and try to see the order that it fell in, check the age of the wood and how it's positioned compared to where it's at in the structure. See if you can see where it came from, where it fell from. I think all that is important to really figure out if it's a legitimate on non-natural structure.
You're absolutely right. You got to deconstruct it, before you can say, hey, maybe it was done by a Bigfoot. And I like how you got that self-discipline. A lot of people don't have that self-discipline, but you got to have that self-discipline to try to decipher, I guess, it being for a formation before it being a non-formation. And one of the reasons is to look up, take a look up and see, hey, did it fall from there? Did it grow from there? Can I remove it easily? Was it jabbed into the ground? Is this piece of wood or is this tree different from the other ones? Was this brought here? There's so much that goes into if it could have been done by hands versus natural causes.
Right. Yeah. And I think also, like you mentioned, the fact, is it the same kind of tree that it's under? And I think that's really important because if it's not the same kind of tree that it's under, look and see if you can figure out where it came from. Because if it didn't fall from there, then it was pulled to there. Additionally, another thing that people need to really watch out for, and I actually learned this little tip from Mark DeWorth, that if, and whether whoever, however you feel about him, he's a good researcher. He does his stuff and he knows his stuff. And he taught me that young bark looks significantly different than old bark. So the bottom of the tree that's more old the bark is going to be different than the branch that fell from the tree. So it's really important to have a little bit of knowledge about trees, so that you can compare to see where that tree came from.
Yep. I love Mark DeWorth. He's another brother in research. I've known him probably since about 2009, and I respect him. And you're right. He's another guy that I look up into the Bigfoot world.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but so Mike, I was going to ask you. So you were talking about all these tree structures, these TP type structures, which is pretty unique because when you get this perfect TP shape, a lot of people will be looking at like formations at the bottom of trees that are down at the base of the tree. But to have a TP structure that's, separate from a tree, how many was there at that moment? I think you said like 6, but was this a frequent occurrence? You go out and you'd see them there often?
Excuse me. Oh, allergy acting up today.
No.
No, I mean that was a one time only. I had walked through that area, and I've actually brought Abe through that same area. Um, Unfortunately, when we went through it, they had logged it, and this was quite a few years ago. We had one of the guys, one of our teammates from the reservation, was down there with us, and we'd walked up through that area in the dark. But that, like I say, that area is tamarack swamp. Um, Never really freezes in winter. That's why I'm kind of believing that they'll winter in that area because that moss grass never really freezes solid. And but yeah, that the teepee formations were right. You walk through the swamp, walk up a bit of a hill, and then it's flat ground. These teepees were right on the hill, and that's roughly right now from where I have my deer stand now today, probably about 6 blocks. So I'm still in that same area hunting.
Nice. Nice. Very cool. Have you had any more luck in that area as far as Bigfoot is concerned?
Um, well, I had a rabbit gifted to me. I think I mentioned that last time we
Yeah.
were talking.
Okay, so
And
that's the same area. Yeah.
I've had things thrown at me at night. The infrasound done.
Jeez.
My youngest boy, 2 years ago, we were out hunting. He could hear the mumble talk from his stand. He could hear something talk back there, and I know we were the only ones in there that year. He'd mentioned that to me. And then, like I said, last year we were in there prior to deer season. We were exploring an area in the lower cedars, we call it, and both of us felt like we were being watched. Just a real creepy feeling,
Yeah.
like something watched us back there.
Wow. That's wild.
You-
I gotta put, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the things that kind of stick out in my head that Pops has had happen in his deer stand. I think he found a car. Was it a car? A little toy car or something like that. That was, I think it was. Did you
Yes,
find
it
a
was
toy?
in my.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
right.
Hang on a minute. Actually, you can still see me here. Where did that go now? It just disappeared.
They took it back.
Ooh.
You know?
They came in and took it back.
So,
Said,
Yeah.
we're taking
right
it.
here, I don't know if you can see this or not.
Oh, yeah. It's kind of backwards. You gotta move backwards of the camera.
I know I'm not used to camera stuff. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, how cool. Oh,
And
that's
it's
neat.
still. So, it was about 2 years ago, I believe. I found
Maybe
this
4.
in my deer stand. Yeah, I found it in my deer
In your deer
stand. And I
stand.
thought this, yep. And
Wow.
this is really strange. And that fall, Abe was there camping with some people. They had the person he was with had some kids. The first thing I asked, did they have one of these little cars with them? Because they were camped by the lake up there. And I don't remember Abe's response, but anyways, I found this in my deer stand.
Wow.
I mean, talk about weird.
That's super weird. That's super interesting.
Yep. And no, we
Wow.
didn't go back to the deer stands. I don't even know how to get back to his deer stands without him being present.
Yeah.
That's quite a ways in. Very easily. Abe and I walked that area back in, I believe it was 2016 or 7, and we
Wow.
walked it dark. We were camped out on the lake down there, and we walked up the ridge and around, came through where my deer stands are, and trails in there, and we came back down on the road, and that was quite a walk that night.
Oh, beautiful night for a walk like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, there was
Nice.
hardly any bug ring, so.
Wow.
Well,
That's
that
a
area.
really unique gift. You know, was that car blue?
Yeah,
Was that a blue
Yes,
color,
it is.
Mike?
It is blue.
Okay, so I find that to be very interesting.
Me too.
Because it seems like the color blue, according to many times I've researched, many times people have talked to me about situations and gifting and leaving gifts. The color blue keeps coming up.
Yes, it
So
does.
it makes me wonder why the color blue is so attractive to Bigfoot. Yes, it's not a supernatural color, but it is a natural color you see, just not very often. So that makes me wonder if that's probably why. I mean, how many times do you see blue flowers in the wild? Not very often, but you do sporadically. But it is a very unique color in nature.
It's funny
Yeah,
that, yeah. Go ahead, Pops.
yeah, it's just weird. I mean, of all things to find in there, it's like, what in the heck? You know, it's like, what is going on? And what's really weird is we have 5 trail cams up here. We've had the trail cam in that area now for about 3 years. And we have 1 trail cam on the main trail coming in. And I've only had 1 person on the trail cam in the last 2 years walking in or hunting with a shotgun. But the trail cams coming to where I hunt my stand, there's nothing on it. There's no humans other than me going in and out of there. So whatever went in there, well, there again, that's another story about trail cams. But whatever it was avoided the trail cameras, walked around them to get into where my stand was. So they
Yeah,
didn't go down.
intelligent.
They didn't go down the trail. They walked through the woods,
Right.
or they would have showed up on my trail cam. So
That is
really
very
weird.
interesting. So I gotta call out Abe here because he said he was gonna wear his MNBR shirt, and I was actually impressed because he wasn't wearing his MNB, and I don't know if he can still hear me or not. He wasn't wearing his MNBRT shirt. He was styling an MNBRT jacket. Now, that is bougie. I mean, come on, Abe. Because I wore my shirt, my Michigan Bigfoot Conference shirt, like I said I would. So I was going to put you on blast if you didn't wear yours, but you did even better. You got the whole jacket.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost him. Perfect timing, though. I got my chance to say what I want to say. So I want to go back to the blue while we wait for Abe to come back on. So, what are your thoughts on that? How do you think that's the case just because it's a unique color in nature? Um, or do you think it has something else? Do you think there's another meaning to it? Like they find it more special or more unique?
Like I say, it's kind of one of those things where you just kind of go, ah.
Yeah.
Because back in that area, like I say, it's about 5 miles in from a highway, and then from the trail that goes in is about to where we hunt in there is probably another 3 to 4 miles. And I mean, the possibility of somebody actually finding where I'm at back there is like I should be buying a lottery ticket, put it that way. So how
Yeah.
that got in my hand is just like I have no clue. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But it's that, I found that rabbit in there a few years back too. And
Oh,
I actually
wow.
brought the rabbit back with me and we skun it out. There was no teeth marks or any marks in the rabbit. Its neck was broke.
Oh,
So whatever
wow.
left it there broke its neck and put it up into the stand. And
Wow.
so I have no doubt in my mind what that was.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
Interesting.
interesting. It is interesting. And it's interesting the fact that it completely avoided all your trail cameras. So that to me says intelligence. And that car looks like it's been through some stuff. I mean, it looks like it's definitely not shiny and brand new. So they acquired that from somewhere, I feel like.
Yeah. I wish I would have had my kit with me. We got a kit for if we want to do samples on something. It's like a sterilization kit.
Yeah.
So fine
Yeah, they
hair
do
or whatever.
DNA too. But you might have to send the whole car off for that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah, that was weird. That was weird.
Yeah. Abe, you were gonna say something. I could see it in your face.
well, I always got something to say, but yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting because after something is touched, it could be contaminated. You know,
Mhm.
just,
Yes.
just without, we're just without human markers. If something is even breathed on, it could be contaminated even without
Mhm.
human markers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's
you
true.
know, and that's one of the things that we like to do is if we think it's good, like legit Bigfoot evidence, possible evidence, put the N95 masks on, get out the latex gloves, get the tweezers, get the envelopes, and scientifically collect that stuff.
Oh wow. So I do all of that aside from the mask.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll have to pick up starting to do that. But when I worked for the sheriff's department, that wasn't something that you were taught was necessary. So that wasn't really anything that ever really went into my head. I mean, like,
Mhm.
um, because most of what I did was being trained for fingerprint lifting and stuff like that. So DNA collection was also something taught, but didn't really practice it a lot. Because that was more the investigator field, but it was still something that you went through. Um, but yeah, I find it interesting that you use the mask. So maybe I'll have to start doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you don't want to
Yeah,
breathe on possible evidence, especially when it
it
comes
makes
down the,
sense because there's
yeah.
moisture, yeah, that comes out of
Yep.
your mouth,
And
even when
that,
you're just breathing. Yeah,
yep, totally. Absolutely. And even some instances, hair nets too. So you don't get a possible fiber mixed up with your own fibers.
oh, my hair is always up when I'm out in the woods, so that's not
Good,
a
good.
big deal for me.
Well, then there's that. And there's, I mean, if you have animals that you got animal hair, cats or dogs too, sometimes you might need to go full blown like hazmat suit just to
Oh my
get, just to
gosh,
get,
you
just
are,
to,
yeah,
just, well, because you don't want to get crashed. I mean, I don't have any pets. But
yeah,
a lot of our team members do have pets. Actually, I
yeah,
think every single one of them has a pet except for Dylan. Yeah,
yeah. My method is to absolutely ensure that you don't go near it once you find it.
right, right, right.
You get all your collection devices, and then also never store in plastic. Never store in plastic. You
Yep,
always store in
exactly.
paper.
Yep,
Because plastic builds moisture and it degrades whatever is in there. So never store in plastic, always in paper envelopes. So that's also a good thing.
yep, good. I'm glad you know that. Not a whole lot of people know this stuff, and
Yeah.
when I find somebody's like you saying that, it's like, yeah, all right, this girl's
Yeah.
paying attention. Good.
Yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah.
I get stoked
Yeah,
because
for sure.
there's a lot of researchers, newer researchers that will just throw it in anything that they can
Yeah.
find. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? You dumb nuts, come on.
Yeah,
what?
exactly.
What? You know? And it's like, yeah, there's a lot more, I guess, um, people who call themselves researchers. And I'm seeing this
Mhm.
more and more and more as this community is blowing up and it's going. It seems like a lot of it has shifted towards one end of just going out there, jumping to the conclusions instead of having discipline, self discipline in this
100%.
research needs to be key. Not everything is Bigfoot related. Not every structure. I mean, that more often, not every arch is made by a Bigfoot. And I'm seeing arches and arches and arches and stuff like that. Okay,
Yeah.
there's snow, there's ice bending these things down, or there's another tree that's
Mhm.
falling on another tree, pinning it down, which could make it stop from springing back up too. Arches, I used to think a lot about them in the beginning, but now maturing in research, I look for something more extravagant, more elaborate, like a possible
Yes.
TP formation.
Yeah, I like arches when there's no other fallen trees around them or that could have rolled down them and off again.
Mhm.
And like the ones that are just somehow they just like bowed like that, but then there's nothing to prove that they had anything laid on top of them. And then there's also some that are bowed all the way over and stabbed in the ground on the other side. Those are really interesting to me.
Or when the tips of the tree are buried in the ground too. It's like, who's going
Yeah,
to
that's
bury
what
a
I mean.
tip of the
Like
tree?
their
You know
bows
what I mean?
over and then they
Right.
stab it in the ground. Yeah. Oh
Or
yeah,
if
when the
something's
tips.
woven. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Have you, okay, off topic, but have you seen, so there has been a lot of like these woven sort of extravagant designs that, and Oregon, it puts me in the mind of Oregon, um, with Tobe Johnson. He's coming across these very extravagant woven designs with wood, like sticks, and he finds them out in nature. Have you heard of that, or have an idea or a thought on that? Like
I
they're
can't
like,
comment. I can't personally comment on that. I haven't seen what he's been coming across.
okay,
But I will say if it's something woven
yeah,
with sticks, it's going to take some muscle. It's going to usually take
oh
some
yeah,
kind of hands. Yeah.
yeah. I mean they're small enough where he can carry them around. Like
Okay.
like some are big, some are small, and it seems to be a phenomenon that's happening a lot over, more on the western side of the country, over like in Oregon.
Interesting. Oh, yeah. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to what he's been doing, to be quite
Yeah,
honest with you. I met Tobe. He's I think he's a cool guy. Um, he does. Everybody does their best when they're out in the field. I just haven't been able to see what he's been finding lately, so I can't really touch on that. But you got me intrigued. You got me really intrigued.
yeah. Yeah, you should definitely check out what he's up to right now, because I mean the stuff that he's coming across is just very unique.
Yep.
Very cool.
Okay. Actually, I just Todd Neese this last year's NBC had one of Tolb's art pieces, wood pieces that he does carving of Bigfoot, and we auctioned that off. Um, so yeah, those are cool. Those I can touch on.
Yeah.
His Bigfoot tree things are really really cool. But
Yes,
as far as that,
absolutely.
you should send me a link after the show or something like that.
Oh yeah, 100%. I will for sure. I will. Um, so I know that Mike, your dad knew about Bigfoot prior to Bigfoot being a household name. So did he tell you any stories or anything like that before you started kind of seeing your own evidence, or did he kind of, you grow up with him talking to you about it?
I don't know if my dad, excuse me, I don't know how much my dad really knew. Um, Same thing with a friend of my dad's. I call him Uncle Charlie. He was a state trapper. Um, I heard more stories from the old lumberjacks. Back when I was a kid, told me stories about what they had seen out in the woods, and this
Oh,
was
that's
back,
interesting.
yeah, 40s, 50s, 60s when they were out there logging, and so I was finding this information out, and it was probably about a few months after I had my first sighting. I started asking questions, and my dad really didn't want me to say nothing because he didn't want to be embarrassed or anything like that. But me being me, I had to ask, and I found out interesting stuff. So it got me kind of on the road to researching. And put it this way: every time I go in the woods, I have a set of eyes in the back of my head when I'm in the woods. So
Oh
Well,
yeah.
Pops, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you came back from having your sighting and you talked to your dad about that, did he just say leave him be, or somebody in your family? I could have swore it was your dad. Said okay, he kind of knew about him, and he gave you the sense that he knew about him.
I think he might have, but he didn't say nothing to me because I think he was afraid that I would not want to go back out in the woods again. And
That sounds like a parent thing. Yeah. Makes sense. I would be the same way with my kids.
well, the weird thing about this, okay, so I find out several years later that I found out a friend of ours, a friend of my dad's, was driving north on, I'm not going to mention the highway, but he's seen this creature cross the highway, and this was about, I'd say about 9 o'clock in the morning, and it crossed the highway in front of him. And about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 or 3 in the afternoon, is when the creature appeared in front of me. And I started thinking about it. This thing had to walk about 6 miles across through the woods to get to where I was from the highway. And I found this out. I'm not going to mention names, but a friend of my dad, who was a logger up here, had a logging company up here at the time. And he was driving north on the highway, and I remember him telling my dad must have mentioned something to him about what I seen. And he told my dad that morning that he had seen something cross the highway in front of his vehicle and then walked into the woods. And it was pretty much the same thing that I had seen. I remember I found that out a few years later, actually from the guy who seen it, because he had talked to my dad. And unfortunately, he's been long gone now for the last about 3 years. He passed away.
Oh, excuse me.
But that was interesting, and I started thinking about it. I'd sit and think about it here like a year ago. I was thinking about that old story that I heard from him, and it makes sense. If something that big could move through the woods in a matter of 5-6 hours, and then actually walk out into my shooting lane. If it was indeed the same thing, it might not have been too. It might have been another one. Who knows? But
Yeah.
Well,
interesting.
Yeah.
the one that moved into your shooting range, you said it was reddish brown in color. Did he just say anything about the color that he's seen, or was there any information?
Yeah, it looked kind of brownish, darkish brown color. Same thing, was about figured around 7 foot tall across the highway.
Mm.
And actually, where it crossed the highway was up on that fire tower, right before that fire tower where you and I walked down that time, and we were looking for the chaga.
Yep.
Right in that same area. Across the highway. They were logging just north of there. They had a logging operation going.
Mm.
So interesting.
Could have been the same one.
I don't know. And then another weird story too, I could tell you too. It's another one. I was in that same area, kind of in the same area. I was scouting out an area for putting up deer stands, and I was walking along a trail, and it was kind of between my stand and what we call the lower cedars. And there's a row of cedar trees that go, they go southwest. And all the trees the branches are bent like an arm, like an elbow. And I found out that those trees were shaped like that from the Native Americans. These trees were probably well over 100 and some years old. And if you follow that row of trees, it'll take you right out to the lake where Abe and I camped. But I was along that section walking one time. I was scouting it out. And one of the things that was really weird, I wish I would have had a DNA kit with me at that time too. There was a stump sitting there. The stump was about 4 feet high off the ground, all right? And the top of the stump was still flat. It wasn't indentated or rotted in the middle. It was still flat. On top of the stump was human-looking feces.
Oh, wow.
I shit you not.
I shit you not.
Anyways, no, all joking aside, I really seen this. And I'm going, what the heck? And it wasn't an animal. It looked human. And
Yeah.
I'm 6'2". There's no way in hell I could stand there and relieve myself on the top of this tree stump.
Yeah. That's pretty wild place.
Very weird. And I know what bear scat looks like. I know what wolf scat looks like. This looked absolutely human-like. In that same area, it was real creepy.
Even still, I can't imagine a bear climbing up there and taking a shit on a tree stump either.
Right. No. Like I said, I wish I would have had a DNA kit back in them days. I would have brought it in and had a sample done,
Pops, it really sounds like you know your shit. But do you recall the diet that it could have been on?
The what was that again?
I says it really looks like you know your shit, but did you look at it? Did you dissect it? Did you come to like a guesstimation on what it could have been feeding on?
There was absolutely no signs of berries or anything like that in there. So a bear, definitely when you find a bear in the fall or the spring,
Right.
you'll find a lot of blueberries or wild berries that are in the feces. And this, I could not see anything in it that looked abnormal. There was no signs of any hair in there. Because I mean, even wolf poop, will have hair in it from the
Yeah,
kill. If they kill a rabbit or whatever.
that's
And
interesting. That's good points.
and then deer poop is more pellets. The buck poop will be longer, almost not the pellets, but longer and bigger. And
Like
does and that more the
like a
round
nut
pellets.
Yeah.
So, well, you spend as much time as I have in the woods, you kind of learn. Same thing
Oh, you
with
got to.
teepee.
Yeah.
Yeah, teepee
I'm
form.
gonna Yeah, I'm gonna say that if I'm not mistaken, I don't think you can collect legitimate, valid DNA through feces. I think all you can do is just evaluate it and dissect it and try to make a conclusion of what it could have came from through looking at it. But I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you can collect valid DNA through feces.
Well, the thing is with that is that each species carries a certain kind of uh, parasite, and if
You
there's a
get
parasite, if there's a parasite that's associated with a species that's in that scat, then we can start connecting the dots together like that.
Mhm.
As far as viable DNA goes, you would have to have a bloody stool of some kind, maybe. But then again,
Exactly, yeah.
it could be because of the bacteria that comes out with the stool, also could be distorting the DNA too. I
Yeah,
would think.
I don't think, as far as I'm aware, I don't think you could collect DNA from feces. I could be wrong, but
excuse me.
I'd have to ask Darby.
ask Google.
Yeah. Oh, I almost did.
You guys can
Well,
talk a moment.
it's kind of like it's kind of like foot tracks too. So over the years, I've found numerous sets of snow tracks, and I've got pictures of some of them. And then last summer, there was tracks I found in the mud, but the rain had rained so hard I could just barely make out the track. And what I learned about the foot tracks that I've discovered out in the woods too is Bigfoot's tracks will be more rounded. The toes are more rounded, where humans are more. The big toe protrudes up to the one side, and like that. Bigfoot tracks are more rounded tracks in the toes. They're more rounded, and I've got some good pictures that um, I've taken throughout the years of snow tracks. And now we actually have capability of casting the snow tracks where we didn't have that before. And
So I have
same
an
thing.
answer. Go ahead. Finish
What?
what you're saying, Mike. I'm sorry. I have an answer
Oh,
for
I
the
mean,
DNA.
oh, you do? Okay. We're full of shit,
Okay.
right? Oh.
No, actually, um, it's a little like it could go both ways. Yes, animal and human DNA can be collected from feces, from the epithelial cells and biological material, with a 93% success rate. Um, However, the methodology, the DNA that is collected from the feces requires specialized preservation techniques. Um, and it, I'm reading here. Fecal DNA is generally lower quality than blood, tissue, or hair. And techniques require specialized techniques and genotyping to be able to create the profile to identify the individuals.
See, I was going
So
to say all that, but I didn't want to sound like a know-it-all.
it's a much more. It sounds like it'll be, if you can do it, it's going to be a much more extensive process for collecting, preserving, and analyzing the DNA, which when it comes to Bigfoot research is not a very feasible option because we are forced to kind of, go with what we can go with because there's not a lot of people that's willing to do DNA research on possible Bigfoot Sasquatch creatures.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. And thanks for looking that up.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Like
Sorry,
you
Mike.
see,
I thought you were done. That's why I said something.
I've seen all kinds of animals scat in my lifetime, and I can identify moose, bear, wolves, and like I say, what I seen was nothing like any animal I've ever seen. It looked human, and it was one of those things where you just scratch your head and go, "What in the heck am I looking at?" And what are the odds? There was no toilet paper laying around there either, so there was nothing to indicate it was a human in there. As far as I was concerned. And it was just one of those things where that's when I started carrying a camera with me when I was going out in the woods. So now when I go out in the woods, I always try to carry, I got a camera on my phone. So I always take pictures of stuff that I see.
Yeah.
So I have a reference on it later, to show somebody or talk to somebody about it.
Yeah, I find it super interesting that, like you were mentioning, there was no hair, there was no berries, there was nothing to say that it was a predator scat. But the size of it, you would imagine it would be something that would eat meat and require, berries and things like that. So it's just interesting the fact that you didn't find any of that in there and that it was more like human feces.
I'm kind of wondering if maybe if it was marking its territory. Does that make any sense?
Very visible being on the stump there.
Animals will do that. They'll either urinate or they'll poop, and then they'll do that marking their territories. I know deer will do that. Deer will scrape the ground and they'll urinate in it, and they do that mark their territory. And also, if a doe comes in and does the same thing, they'll actually re-scrape and urinate in that area, and that's their way of claiming the doe, I think.
Do you remember the color of the feces?
Huh?
But remember the color of it?
Yeah.
It looked like just brown in color. It looked like human feces. It was, and then whatever did that was taller than I was to be able to stand there and do that on that tree stump.
Well,
I mean, like I said, I'm 6'2", and there's no way I could do that.
From what we do know of herbivores, their coloration of the poop is usually a dark, tarry coloration compared to a carnivore, which if we look at it like a dog's diet, brown, reddish, totally different coloration here going on. It being...
Well, if this thing's eating meat, so say like deer meat or something like that, or even rabbit, the feces is going to be lighter colored. The only time it's going to be darker if it's eating berries. The berries will make the feces darker. So whatever it was eating was definitely eating, either was catching rabbits, something, animals, or maybe even fish, but it was not berries. And that time of year, I was walking through there, the berry season's about over that time of year. When you're going to find the berries up here is like in July and August. And there's abundant blueberries and that up here. And
this past Memorial Day 2025, we were on expedition and came across a moose turd and it looked very, very human. One of the team members, Dylan, he thought it was actually a humanoid, but come to find out, and after doing research, it was definitely moosey.
Not in texture.
Well,
right.
with moose, with male, like male deer, the feces will be longer.
Yeah.
And but it doesn't look human, but it'll be longer. Where the does, it's more pellets.
Sorry.
Like little, you know what rabbit poop looks like? It's pellets.
Yeah,
or the
bigger.
Female deer's feces will look more like pellets, where the bucks can still look like pellets, but they're more together and like a regular turd. Okay, I said it. It's kind of interesting. I've discovered that over the years, just out hunting and walking through the woods. Different animals and.
And
That's
especially
interesting.
when you're tracking it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I love doing these shows because I feel like I learn something every time, at least a few things. And I could never have thought that I would have learned that moose shit looked like human shit. So thank you, Abe. I did not know that. But
Yeah.
it's good to
Well,
know, just in case I'm in moose territory. It wasn't a person.
Well, and the thing is, in this area where Pops was at, moose would be able to reach the 4-foot mark if they wanted to drop a carrot on it too. So, I mean, and I'm not saying it was moose. I'm not saying it wasn't a moose. I would love to see that shit, but
You'd love to see that shit.
oh yeah, it's all we're done with.
This did not look human. It looked human to me. That's what blew me away.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I feel
thought,
like you spent enough time out in the woods. You would be able to like pick that kind of stuff apart, I feel like, as well. And you saw it personally.
And the thing, Pops is a really good tracker too, because when he's tracking, you can tell a difference between the sex of an ungulate. The majority of like moose or deer, they have these spurs on the back, which would indicate male versus a doe or a cow not having those spurs on the back of their prints, which would give that a dead weight. So if you're tracking that sex, you could tell by the droppings by doing long-term tracking, basically.
That's that's really interesting.
Buck and a doe tracks are completely different.
Absolutely.
And I've actually tracked the bucks through the woods, and then I found their feces, so that's where I know. And then where they would scrape the ground, and I would see tracks where they'd scrape the ground, and they had the little what I call the dew claws behind the leg there. They'll be into the dirt. Yeah, where the does don't have that. And moose are the same way. They'll have the dew claws in the back, and
the males will. Yeah.
Yeah, the males will. So it's easy to determine what sex they are.
Yep. All right. Well, MNBRT, we know our shit, right?
Yes. They know their bodily functions.
Oh, that's great. That's funny. Last week we kind of touched on the subject as far as the one that Pop's seen. He said we talked about it being more rounded head, and there are sightings where creatures are more roundish in head shape compared to ones that are more dome like silverback or gorilla. Ones that look more ape like versus no, couldn't get a hold of nobody.
Okay.
And versus ones that look ape-like versus human-like, facial structure and head-wise, but nonetheless, they're both big and stocky and hairy. With that being said, and there's history of I should go check my mailbox. A history of reports of these creatures kidnapping women or even men. Albert Osterman, great example from the Toba Inlet, 1924, when he was out prospecting. For what reason, we only can theorize that the male brought him to his family to hopefully mate with his younger daughters. But there's also been stories of Native American women being kidnapped too by big ones and returning with different looking babies too. Is it too far off to say that we're dealing with? I think we're dealing with more than one kind, and we're also dealing with hybrids as well of some kind of homo species. And which makes sense because to have a viable population, you have to have around 2,000, 3,000 different members and stuff like that. But when that runs out, to continue having that bloodline be thriving, you're going to have to introduce somebody else, a different genome element that's compatible to have that viable species survive, sustainable.
Well, that's where the clans would interact.
Right.
You'd have
And
two
there's stories
different
about
clans.
that.
Yeah. I've looked at reports from up here of people that went missing, that missing 411. It kind of got me interested. And I've read reports of people up here in this area and then up by the boundary waters in north of me, even yet that have gone missing and never been found. And I mean, it's such a vast area up here for trees and forests that basically, if I wanted to hide out and never be found, nobody would ever find me. I could hide out and never be found by anybody up there. But these people that have gone missing, either hiking, camping, or hunting, you know what happened to them? It's kind of interesting. And I've never had a hostile encounter with the Bigfoot other than they did the infrasound on me and throwing stuff at me, but I've never had any physical encounter with one. I'm not saying that it wouldn't happen. And like Abe says, who's to say if there was some girls out camping that they couldn't be grabbed and hauled off somewhere, be held captive? You don't know.
I mean, there's plenty of missing person cases from the woods, so yeah, you don't know. Yeah.
It's interesting.
That's an interesting, yeah. It's a very interesting thought.
Yeah.
It definitely gets my wheels turning.
Yeah, no doubt.
I gotta rub my fake beard.
Well, how to
Me
go?
too.
Things that make you go, yeah.
Sing it for us.
Yeah, I know. I'm done. Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. No, you know, it's funny because I mean,
Okay.
I'm 100% on the belief that we're dealing with some kind of a homo species, some kind of is it a relict hominid? Just based on, okay, so an expedition Bigfoot, when they were in Kentucky and Dr. Mayer conducted the eDNA after this possible formation, the results came back troglodyte, which is more associated with a chimpanzee, which has more of a roundish head compared to known gorilla. Every species, I should say, of primate, except for the gorillas, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, have a more rounded head, where gorillas have more conical heads. Now, the reason for that being is hold on. There's one of Patty. Hers was more conical compared to it being round. Now, in the gorilla species, the reason for this is because it's have what's called a sagittal crest, which is kind of like a bone that's kind of like parts right down there. But the whole deal for the sagittal crest is for the mandibles to grab the muscles up here for their jaw structure, and to hang on to that. Where we're seeing other species, there's a little Minnesota Iceman that has more of a rounder head. So for interbreeding, there has been stories of possible clans meeting and trading spouses. They're swingers. Bigfoots are swingers. But you know, which is it has. So we're dealing not with just. I wonder if we're even dealing with something that was once pure due to the hybridization that's going on. And through the hybridization, we went from something that went through conical that now we're seeing more domed or rounder shaped heads. Or are we dealing with different species altogether that all look the same and have some of the same characteristics?
Well,
Interesting.
who's to say? Who's to say that you know, just one form of them made it across? My belief is they came across the land bridge from Europe. That's how they got here in North America and Canada and that. And the reason I believe that is they were a lower species that never evolved, and the more modern man was becoming more evolved, and they got out of that part of the country and came over to the United States, you know, over to Canada and that because they had no competition over here. So they were a form of human that never truly evolved, you know, caveman. And who's to say there wasn't more than one, you know, of these creatures came over? I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen
I
pictures
mean,
of different things, and they're hairier. Some areas of the country they're hairier and bigger. In some areas they're more thinner and not as tall.
yes, I agree with that. I mean, there's a variety of types of body shapes, head shapes, and visuals, face, the way the face looks. It's a variety all throughout the
Mhm.
US.
Yeah.
And you could even see a mixed bag even in one area. It's more uncommon, but it does happen. But then you look outside the US and all the different varieties of shapes and sizes and colors that are out there. There's definitely a variety of these creatures. And I
Yeah.
just wonder, like, I do believe in evolution, but not to a degree that it changes dramatically over a short period of time. I think dramatic changes happen over an extensive amount of time. And I also believe in minor evolution where you don't go from fish to human or ape to human. You just change slightly over time, thinness, height, weight, bulkiness, face shape, that type of stuff that changes. So I don't think that these are evolutionary creatures. Me personally, I don't think they're evolutionary creatures from like Gigantopithecus. I
Mhm.
think that was a
Mhm.
standalone
Mhm.
creature. I
Yep.
think these are their own species, their
Oh,
own
yep.
thing.
Yep. I would have to totally agree with you. And I would even take it one step before the continental drift when Pangea, all the continents were together. They had free roam and everything. And that's, before the continental drift, before Russia went over there from Alaska, before we got separated from South America and Africa going in between, all the continents were together where they had free roam of all the land. And then, yeah, the continental drifting and stuff, some got stuck on different continents. Who
Hmm.
knows what we're going to find in the Antarctic if and when that melting does occur? That's going to be really, really cool, I think. But I mean, if we take a look at the Yirin or the wild man of China, the Yowie, the Almasty of Russia, and stuff like that. Even them being how about the orang pendek of
Yeah.
Sumatra?
Yeah.
We're talking about subspecies, different species of bipedalism. Now,
Yeah, the Yeti, the Alma, yeah,
yeah,
all of those. They're all different.
yeah, exactly. But one thing that I think we're all seeing, except for maybe the exclusion of the orang pendek, is within the footprints, they're more homolistic compared to what we know of primates, which have a big
Mhm.
divergent big toe going off to the side.
100%. Exactly. That's a really great point. I want to touch on this really fast. So now underscore Minnesota has made a few comments. So it sounds like you are kind of
Ooh.
doing your own research, very unique research. So now Minnesota, I'd love it if you reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you more about a little bit of your research on those berry giants out in Minnesota. So I'm curious, Abe, have you heard anything about those? The giants?
The giant. Well, yeah. Actually, I have. It was on. There was actually a show. It was on season 3, episode 3, where a colleague, Ed Welch, he also goes by the name of the first Billy Jack. Been out in the field with him. He's taken me to an area where he had a Bigfoot sighting. It was actually with him in one of our current research areas where he had an encounter, and I was recording nonchalantly and possibly picked up a Bigfoot. He posted it on YouTube, but that video is no longer up on YouTube. But so I think it's called Giants on Earth or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, there
America
was
on Earth.
America on Earth. Yeah, season 3,
Yeah.
episode 3. Ed Welch was on
That's
that.
what he
They
was
were
saying. Yeah. He, she.
they were here in Minnesota. Ed Welch. Actually, I just reached out to him late last year just to check up on him because I like to stay in contact with people. At any rate, there were some giant skeletons that were buried kind of together with a one that was about 7 or maybe 8 feet long, with I think one or two smaller ones. So as far as giant skeletons being found, they think that it could have been a tall Native American, uh, but I forget if it was in a mound or not. I don't think it was in a mound, or if it was. I totally forget, but I know of it. I heard of it. Yes.
Very cool. It's interesting. I wonder if there was any sort of Bigfoot connection there, or if
Great
that's like
question.
a whole other separate thing too.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And I think I seen one of their posts. We do work with a few different county deputies and sheriff departments up in northern Minnesota as well. So any call that they do get pertaining to Bigfoot-like creature, that's going to get forwarded to us.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'd be interested to hear what that comes of that.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to the DNR and the sheriff's department in the past about sightings that they've had. So DNR
Are
and the
they
sheriff's
open?
department.
Are they
They're
open to
more.
talking about that?
Depends on the county.
Well, I actually got to see a dash cam video of one crossing a highway 11 miles to the west of me.
Oh my
And
gosh, how cool.
this was quite a few years ago, but it was actually a dash cam video. And then 2 years ago, I had a game warden stop in here, and he was asking me questions about the wolf population because we got a new breed of wolf up here. It's called a Kai wolf, and I've got pictures of this new
Coyote
wolf.
wolf.
Yeah, well, yeah, the breed between coyote and or not coyote, but a timber wolf and what was that? Well, we call them not coyotes, we call them brush wolves.
Oh,
Brush
okay. I
wolves
was
are
thinking
called.
coy wolf, like
Now, these
Coyote
are
wolf.
coy wolf or coy wolf. Oh, I can't talk. Anyways, I got pictures. I got pictures of a pack of them, and they look like timber wolves. But anyways, the game warden was asking me about what I knew about that, and then during the conversation, he started asking me questions about Bigfoot. I know what I knew and what I've seen and heard and that. And he wouldn't come right out and admit anything, but he was very curious about what I knew. And then I actually got to see pictures. The DNR was over a power line that's just north of here. And they took pictures of this creature walking down the power line, which I got to see the pictures. And no, they wouldn't give me any copies of the pictures, but
of course not.
definitely what was moving was not a bear. A bear has been known to walk on two legs. And this thing was not walking. It was walking on two legs, but it walked quite a distance on two legs, where a bear usually won't do it that far.
And you
I
can
had
definitely
no
tell
doubt.
the difference in stride.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind it was a Bigfoot. So, I mean, this was years ago. I think that was right after we did that show with public radio. We did that show, and
That's going on 10 years ago.
Yeah, everybody found out, oh, Mike's a Bigfoot researcher up here. So I was just getting bombarded with messages, people coming up to me and asking me questions. And I'm kind of looking forward now at the end of the month. I hope to get some responses, some people messaging me up here with sightings, because the cabin people will start showing up about the middle of the end of March. And that's when I start to get a lot of messages. And then like during hunting season, when people are out in the woods hunting, they see things.
Right. And speaking of cabin people, the house that he grew up in, right next to him, I was up there and the daughter-in-law talked with me. She said she didn't want to go on camera, but she also had a sighting as well. There's a lot of people in the state of Minnesota, and this is one of the reasons why we hold the MBC, because we know that there's a lot of people in the woodwork that are still holding on to their sighting in fear of being, made fun of or ridiculed. But with the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference, along with Reamer, Minnesota, the home of Bigfoot here in Minnesota, we provide that safe platform for them to come and speak freely about what they experienced and what they've seen. We're not here to judge people. We've been doing this for many, many years. We've heard some pretty wild things when it comes to this field of research. And we just want everybody who knows this, that we're not going to judge you. We're not going to ridicule you. You have a safe platform with us here at the Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team and in Reamer, Minnesota during the Bigfoot Festival and at the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference. We can keep and respect you if you want your stuff to be held confidential. We don't share our research areas because we're doing ongoing research in these areas, and we don't want nobody going in there and foiling things up.
It's pollution, yeah.
Robert.
If anybody contacts me with a sighting, I keep their area confidential. I don't use their name or I don't take a picture of them unless they want me to. Otherwise, it's completely confidential. And
That's
I
the way
respect.
it should be, yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to. If they don't want to be involved, other than telling me the story or taking me to the location, I respect that. And that's like earlier when I was talking about a highway that they crossed. I didn't name the highway because, like Abe says, these areas they're still under investigation by us. We go back in there from time to time, and I do not want other investigators in there because that causes problems.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, having other investigators that have different techniques than you do can honestly mess up your research that you're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the legend himself, Robert W. Morgan, in his book, he did, whenever he would go out, he would do the exact same thing. He would even wear the exact same clothing and take the exact same path because by doing that, they got to see his routine where they became comfortable enough with him where they approached him and he happened to have a sighting.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. That's a very interesting way to do it. Which I should take a note from that because I'm the type of person, like, I'm always willing to try something different, try something new, but maybe just keeping a steady flow of one technique in one area at a time is a better way to do that. So I'm going to try that. That's interesting.
Absolutely. In one area, put up a doll or something like that. In another area, do some call blasting versus some vocalization versus some wood knocks versus leaving some food out. So you got these all areas, but you're doing different things to see what is producing a result or some kind of a response. And then maybe take you're getting a response in one area and try it in the other area, implement it in there and see what occurs.
I like that. That's actually I'm definitely going to be trying that. I like that idea.
Stick with me, kid.
No, I actually put food out behind my place here about, I want to say 8 years ago. I was putting food out behind my place. And I'd go back and I would find rocks or sticks where I put the food. So they were leaving me something. And then what was really weird is I got up one morning to go to work and I walked outside, opened my door, and leaning up against the door where the door was a deer leg with the meat still on it. You talk about weird. So they were leaving me a gift. And then the gal that Abe was talking about, she's actually my daughter-in-law, or stepdaughter, I should say. I find out that back in 2009, she actually seen one looking through the window of the cabin. She was sleeping out in the living room on an air mattress. This one was looking through my window.
I feel like I remember you saying something like that. Was that you that told me that?
Well, he did bring that up. He did bring that up, I think, last week. Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just making sure I'm
I could have sworn
that time frame. That time frame is when I found a deer leg too up against the door.
Interesting.
That was really.
Pop, when that deer leg occurred, was it right before or during winter at all?
That was in the fall, I believe.
Right before winter.
That whole summer was weird because that spring I did a lot of landscaping when I did the cement work, and I was having rocks thrown up on the roof of my cabin that night.
So was that 2008, 2009 then?
2000, I think it was 2009. And that's also when I seen that one walking across the ice. That same
well, that was 2008. Oh, wow. Because you became on MNBRT radio in 2009, I believe.
Yeah. So it might have been 2008. I had stuff going on for a couple years here, and it was mainly in the like summer and falls when it was going on, and then like early spring. But I had something come up and slap the side of the cabin from the outside, and at that time I had a chocolate lab that was over 100 pounds, and this dog was literally under the kitchen table shaking. Whatever it was scared the hell out of him.
Hmm.
And that I believe that was also the same summer I took her and her mom and her aunt. I had three gals with me, and we went out back to that old gravel pit, and I was doing pre-knocks, and they were laughing, clowning around laughing. All of a sudden, we got a response, and they took off running. And it was about a half mile where we had the car parked. They took off running and left me there. And the bad thing about it is I did not have a flashlight. They had the flashlights. And luckily, I had an old phone at the time. It gave off enough light I could find my way back to where we were parked. And I was praying to God that they didn't take off and leave me there, with no car or nothing. But it scared the living crap out of them. They thought it was a joke. We got that would not response.
When he says old phone, we're talking about an old flip phone that he had to hold down to the ground to stay on the path.
Oh my gosh, that's no light at all.
That was around 2008 as well when that happened. But
Wow.
yeah, they wanted to take him out, and then the same thing with my daughter and I. She was staying up here with me for a while, and that was like 2010. And we don't get very good phone service here. I got internet now, but back then we used to go about 4 miles up the highway where they got a big tower. Abe knows that area too. We walked back there one time, and we used to go up there because we could get out with the phones and get internet. And we were standing there one night. She was trying to get a hold of some people, and I was bored, so I started doing pre-knocks by the gate by that tower there, and lo and behold, I got a response from the other side of the highway. And needless to say, my daughter, let's get the hell out of here right now. It scared the living hell out of her.
Mm.
I mean, there's nobody living up there, so you make a tree knock and you get a response. It's like, okay, you definitely know what it is.
Yeah,
but yeah, this area up here is really.
I love Woodnox.
We got a trackway north going east and west, so we've had a lot of activities. That's about 6 miles north of.
Yep.
So is that year over year, or is that sometimes you have really good years and then you have an off year? Or is it year over year? It's pretty consistent.
It's not 100% consistent. There's sometimes I'll go in there and I'm not expecting to hear anything, and all of a sudden something happens. And there's other times I can go in an area, and as soon as I shut the car door, I can hear a tree knock in the distance.
Interesting.
So they know I'm there, and they're letting the clan know that somebody just pulled up in our area, and they're letting them know.
Yep.
I love it.
Abe, I feel like you have something to say because you started to say something, and I think I talked over you. So
No,
your brain works like mine.
I was just thinking about it because he's saying tree knocks and wood knocks, and it's just when you hear that and you're like, oh yeah, cool,
That's such a good feeling.
I'm just reminiscing, like, yeah, I can't wait to get out for the weather to get nicer and stuff like that. To get out there, it just adds more fuel to my fire. As I was saying last week, I mean, we have such a passion. It became a hobby that became an obsession. But now we are really, really passionate about this. I mean, I think a lot of us field researchers, and I call myself as a field researcher. I've been doing field research for 26 freaking years now, and it's been one of the best rides of my life. Besides parenthood, that it's up and down and it's not consistent. Not every time we go out into the field, something happens, but every time we do go out, we have a great time. So it's not just about Bigfoot research. It's also about the flora and the fauna, what kind of plants are out there, what kind of fungus are out there, what can be sustainable, what can be used, what can, all this comes into play. There's some kind of integration going on here where they're utilizing this, and there's a pattern. I think there
Yeah.
is a pattern. If they're a Homo species that's nomadic, everything that we know about our Homo sapien species, we have patterns. So as soon as we can find that out, and I think the pattern is probably a circulation with food, not so much migration, because you wouldn't need to migrate if you have everything you need. If you have a place where you can shelter in the winter, it be in the tamaracks or the evergreens where they hold a lot more heat, a lot more longer compared to the deciduous trees versus the coniferous trees, right? So on the evergreens, they melt the snow a lot more faster, which would tell us that, hey, these are probable areas of habitat where they could utilize, or if they go subterranean during the wintertime. So if they have everything that they need in an area, then yes, we're going to find the corridor or the trackway, as Pops puts it, where we can hopefully start finding these patterns. And because right now, for the past 26 years, I've been on the heels of these things. Pops have seen one. Well, he was no more than 10 or 15 feet away from me back in 2021. This creature was on the trail rocking back and forth while I was off with a host, cameraman, and audio guy. July 11th, 2021. Well, it steps on the trail and rocks back and forth, and Pops got to see that. We talked about that last week. But I've been right on the heels. I want to be in front of their toes. I want to be
Yes.
where we're ahead of them. You know what I'm saying? Where we're ahead of them and where we're in the area where they're going to be at. And we're only going to be able to do that with the help of people that come out of that woodwork and share what they're seeing. We need time, dates, locations, weather, and for people who want to stay anonymous, I have sighting report forms that I can send you physically if you message the Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team Facebook page or Pops Bigfoot, and he gets a hold of me, and leave him your address where I can send you a sighting report form. You guys are the ones that are going to be able to help us, and we ask for your help.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think another great tip for anybody who wants to report their sightings, anybody is capable of going into Google Maps, trying to find where they saw this. They can go to satellite view, trying to figure out where they saw this out. If you press and hold, the Google Maps will give you coordinates. You just
Mhm.
copy those off of those coordinates, and it gives them a much more specific location to start searching. So if you're not sure how to describe it, how to explain it, just go on Google Maps, find the location on Google Maps, hold it down, and it'll give you coordinates. And then you just use those coordinates and send them over to Abe and Pops. So that's or the Fold Mysteries. So that's a great way to kind of get your location across without trying to explain it verbally.
Yep,
I've had people
absolutely.
contact me in the past with sightings and problems they've had on their property. And one of the guys that contacted me, Abe knows him real well. We went over to his property one night and we determined the problem was he had chickens. He had chickens running around. So they were in there trying to get a meal. And then I've had another guy too. He was having issues at a boat landing. And I actually went out there and sat a couple nights by myself in the truck. Just sat
Same
there and
guy.
sat.
Wasn't it the same guy?
Yep, same guy.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about. So yeah, we keep the names and the places confidential. We don't say nothing.
So wait,
And
what
so
happened at this boat dock? Sorry, he didn't finish the story. I wonder what happened.
He was out fishing. It's a remote area. There's no cabins on the lake. And him and his grandson were out fishing, and they were along the shoreline fishing in their boat. And something was throwing branches at him out in the water and rocks at him.
Oh wow, wow, we know what that was. I mean,
Yeah.
something with hands, right?
yeah.
which,
So,
which is really cool because that was to the west of where this guy lives. I'm sorry, east
yep,
to where this guy lives. And the
yep.
thing is, where this guy lives, uh, so this is where we say there's a corridor or a trackway because one of our other team members, Dylan, he was out on this lake west of where this guy lives back in December 15th or 16th of 2024, maybe 2023. Him and an ex-team member of ours heard knocking and growling. So,
Hmm.
and then we camped out there, and the ex-team member, he got a call on a family emergency, and we had to pack things up and get him out of there because he wasn't too familiar with that area.
Hmm.
That same area too. I got 2 reports from 2 different people on this trail, ATV trail, and that's in that same area. I got 2 reports where they've seen this creature along the tamarack swamps. And that fact, we went in there that night. We were going to camp out there that night in that area, and then we ended up leaving early. The former team member that we had, he had a call or something, and we had to get out of there and leave. But I got 2 reports in that same area where this Bigfoot was seen right on the edge of a swamp on a trail, and these people are going through on their 4-wheelers, and they've seen him. And one of them was a postal service person up here in northern Minnesota, and the other one was just a regular Joe Blow. But they got a hold of me, both of them did.
Yep. You know, and Gwendolyn, do you ever get those smart asses that say, "Oh, did you find Bigfoot yet?" And I get that a lot. I'm like, "Yeah, I found them." I'm like, "Yeah, I found them." Like, "Oh yeah," I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "No, finding them, taking a picture, and having them stay still and catching them are 2 different things." But yeah, I found them.
Yeah, exactly. I like that response. I'm going to use that from now on. Depends on the inflection behind what they say, how I respond.
Right. Yeah. What mood am I in now? Can you do the wood knock? Have you ever been tree broke? Wham. Stump broken?
No, I just well, if the questions is snotty, I'm just like, yeah, it's your dad.
That's great. That is great, man. I know we're cruising on to an hour and a half here. Are you still good?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Do we have any more questions out of the chat room? Some great questions I see.
Well, I actually do want to say that now Minnesota is going to give us their contact information because I guess they have a connection with some of the police force in the area, and they would like to help you guys get into contact with more potential police reports that pertain to Bigfoot and weird phenomena. And I'm also very curious to hear more about their knowledge of giants, even if it's just from the show. And they did a little research on the side. I'm just kind of curious to see what they've learned themselves. So I'll wait for that contact information. I'll shoot it over to you guys. But as far as comments go, I've deleted quite a few because it seems like we have some trolls. So
Oh, sure. There's going to be trolls. Absolutely. I love trolls. I've been dealing with those guys for 26 years, right? There's whatever, dime a dozen. Next.
Right. They're not trolls about Bigfoot. Has a whole lot to do with me.
Oh, with you. It's because you got the shirt on. No.
BC.
Well, you gotta have
It was just derogatory. Well, derogatory, not derogatory, but dirty. So I had to delete it.
You know, one thing in this field of research, and I told Pop this, is that you got to have some very thick skin because you're
Yep,
going
I
to
was
have.
gonna say that. I was gonna say that.
You know, you're going to have those trolls, and I take them with a grain of salt. Now, however, if they were skeptics, that's a totally different story. I love skeptics, but
Oh, I
trolls,
love the debate.
yeah,
Yes.
you know, and I was actually just telling somebody today, we were at dinner, and that's why I was running a little bit behind. But I says, you know, if Bigfoot was on trial for murder, there is more evidence that would convict him as guilty. Physical evidence that would, you know, with the footprints, with the DNA, with the hair, with the fingerprints and stuff like that. These came
With the
from Minnesota.
pictures, the footage.
Yeah, the footage, you know, and they're like, "Oh, is Bigfoot a nocturnal creature?" I was like, "Yeah, but however, they're also diurnal as well. All the great footage was taken during the day."
Ah,
Think about
yep.
the Patterson Gimlin film taken during the day, the Memorial Day footage, the Freeman footage, all during the day. Otherwise,
Mhm.
you're not going to have that great footage at night. However, unless you have the FLIR thermal imagers and stuff like that are really good too. So yeah.
Yeah. That's so true. I
You know,
like the way you said that because, I mean, it takes less to convict somebody than it's taking to prove that Bigfoot exists.
well, like Abe was saying, with the thick skin and that, and when it came out that I was into the Bigfoot research, I lost some really good friends, close friends that won't have nothing to do with me anymore. And I've even had relatives that have turned their back on me, and it's
Oh,
kind of sad.
numerous. Yeah. Yeah,
And
everything's
that
so crazy.
it's just that's what happens. I came out of the closet on Bigfoot, and yeah, but I've had more good come out of it than bad. It's just
Yeah.
it's very nice to run into people that like the research and then got a positive mind about it. And yeah,
Yep.
you get
Yeah.
negative people, you get trolls. You know what? I dealt with
You're gonna have
people
that
like
with
that
everything.
in life. Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna have that with everything. And you know what? It's surprising when you're more open about what you do on the side. Because for me, this is a professional hobby, I call it. It's something I take very seriously that doesn't earn me money. So I call it a professional hobby. When you're open about it, you'd be surprised the people that are receptive or have stories or also have a passion for it. And the contacts and the networking that you can do just by being open about what you do completely diminishes all the haters. Like you're going to have probably 8 haters to every one person that appreciates it,
You
and
ain't wrong.
that's just the way it is. So, but that's like that with everything. Everybody's got their niche and everybody's got an opinion about somebody who doesn't have their niche. So the way I look at it is I'm so open. I have my license plate on my car is Bigfooty. So
It's funny because my old license plate had MNBRT on it.
nice.
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
And then you see my coat. So, oh my god. And then I'm such a geek.
Yeah. And you
So,
got like the full on jacket. Like you got the bling and everything. Like
yeah. Well, it's been blessed, but it is, yeah. And the thing is that it's not for me. It's just to get the team out there, to get the word out there that hey, there is a group here in Minnesota that's been dedicated to this field of research for the past 26 years, for at least since I started the team. And we have a great team of guys. We have
yeah.
my brothers that have been right by my side. We call my one brother Tick, the other one Trax, and then we have Dan and Joel. That's we're one of the two outside of my brothers, and we have Pops, of course. There's Jeremy, Dylan, Connor,
Joe and Joe.
Joel. Yeah, I mean, we have about 10 or 11 guys on the team. And it's been more than just guys on the team. We've actually are like brothers. We're like family, and that's
Yeah.
we give each other a good ribbon. We pick on each other, and we
Yeah.
play tricks and we tell jokes and stuff like
That's
that. So
family.
it is
Yeah.
absolutely is family. Yep.
Yeah, and the
Yep.
way I see it is I feel like it's okay to wear your products because it's one thing to be prideful and it's another thing to be proud. And I feel like you should be proud of everything you've accomplished. You put a lot of time, your own money into this and a lot of effort to be able to expand your network, to be able to offer that to people who want to do those reports, who want to share what their experience is. And I think that you should be proud of it. You're not prideful, you're just proud. And I think that's a good thing to do, just to recognize your accomplishments and what you've done.
And thank you for saying that because pride is the least thing that I have when it comes down to this because I've had to swallow that a lot of times.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
people are saying, "Oh, I'm in it for the money." There's no money, there's no fame, there's no fortune in this. I spend more money putting on a Bigfoot conference
Absolutely.
than I get in return from it. I don't break even. So just with the awesome speakers that we provide, the great venue, the airfare, the gas, and everything. Yeah, it's thousands and thousands upon thousands of dollars to put on the NBC, but I do it because we want to get the awareness that, hey, there is a team here in Minnesota that's not going to make fun of you. You can feel safe with us and coming towards with us about what you've experienced. And plus, not just that, we have to have that foundation. We want to get the education and the awareness out there as well. So yeah, it takes
Mhm.
money to do that, and I don't make it back. So yeah,
No, there's probably nobody in this field that really actually makes money off of this. If they
no.
build money, it's just to do it again better next year.
And that's all we can hope for, That's all we can
Yeah.
hope for is that every year it gets bigger, the ripples of this get bigger, where it reaches more people. It draws in more people who want to take the subject serious, who are curious. Come fill your curiosity at the conferences. We've had a great lineup. We have a great team of guys that literally we put our sweat and blood into this, and sometimes tears because we grow so
Yeah.
close to each other. So it's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it. It's all the way
Yeah.
around. Just been a blessing,
Yeah. It's a passion and a way of life, 100%.
no doubt. Pops, you had something to say?
Well, no, I don't regret anything I've done in the Bigfoot research. I don't regret telling people about it. Yeah, I've lost some friends. I've been disrespected, and but there again, it is what it is.
Yep.
I
But
met
something.
better
Yep.
friends.
Oh, oh, love you, pops. And I
Oh
can.
yeah, you too, you too. We like to joke around and have fun and laugh and that, but when we're out in the woods, we're totally serious. I mean, we what we do, we take seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we can joke around with each other. If we go out to dinner sometime or whatever, we can joke around and have some laughs. But when we're out in the woods, it's 100% serious. We take our business that way. Same thing. If I get a report, I'll put 100% of my effort into a report I get. I've gotten reports from people that were just terrified from what they've seen on their property, and that I'd go
Yeah.
out there, and Abe has gone with me. We've gone out there and spent the night there, or we've researched the area, and we can either disprove what they've seen, say, yeah, it wasn't that, it was this or was that. We can put their mind at ease, like that nursing home that I went to that time.
Yeah. Yep. I
That
remember
was a
that.
good example. That was a good example, and I showed them what was making the tracks. I showed them what was going on,
Very
and it
cool.
put them all at ease.
I love
That's
that.
another good story.
Yeah, we have a lot of time working, fun time working with the elderly.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say that.
Who's elderly? Huh?
I don't know. I'm just joking, but all in all, he's right. We do take what we do when we're out in the field very serious and stuff like that. Just because
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and we don't want nobody to get hurt.
Oh, that's the biggest thing. Safety. Safety is the number one priority. So yeah, I totally agree. I hate to cut this off because this conversation has just been so awesome and so amazing. Unfortunately, I still have 2 weeks of college left after this week. So I have yes. No, like I'm done in 2 weeks. Like I get my master's degree and I'm done. So I'm so excited. But I'm
Good luck.
preparing for finals. Thank you. And I have slides to do tonight. And I also have to look over simulations and things like that for school before I can even go to bed. It is 8:30 where I'm at. So if you guys are okay, I'm gonna call it.
Yep, we're
Um,
good.
Yep.
but I do want to say, Pops, you are wonderful. I would just have such a blast investigating with you. And same with you, Abe. I
Mm.
feel like if anything, if you guys ever want to invite me along, I'd love to come along and research with you guys. Just
Fresh
to
meat?
get out there. Huh?
No,
Oh,
fresh
I'd love to
meat?
do
No.
it.
Well, if you'd like to do a
Yes.
research with, you're more than welcome.
Yeah, I'd
More than
love it. I'd
welcome.
love it. Yeah,
We've actually had
100%.
better luck. We've had really good luck with women with us.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah.
couple of stories I could tell you about that where we got tree knocks, we got vocalizations and stuff like that. that, and we had we had what, 3 gals with us at one time. We took them out on a, what was it, a 3-hour deal out in the woods that night.
3-hour tour.
And yeah,
the tiny ship was.
and yeah. And anyways, yeah, I was just amazed at what we heard. We heard the vocalizations, we heard tree knocks, and we had more stuff happen to us in one night than we did probably in 10 outings. It was just crazy.
And one of the witnesses had a parabolic on, and they got to hear some communication, some stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
That's a whole. That was one of our outings that we offer for Reamer during the Bigfoot Reamer outing. Yep. But I know you got stuff to do, and you know what? These past 2 weeks has been really, really fun, and thank you for having us back on.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, and I just want to remind everybody, you can reach out to Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team, spelled out, on Facebook to get in contact with them, get a site reporting form. For Pops, it is Pops. Help me out here. Pops
Bigfoot Hunter.
I didn't hear.
Pops Bigfoot Hunter.
On Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yes, Pops Bigfoot Hunter on Facebook. So reach out to either one of those. And Minnesota Bigfoot Research Team will be able to have the information. These are 2 very professional, very great investigators that I really appreciate and adore in this Bigfoot society. So keep doing your thing. And I know that you guys are going to be on the show again, because I know you have so much more to talk about. And as time builds, you'll have even more to talk about. So thank you both so much. And you guys thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have a good night. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Squatch on.
Bye.